Guys, what's going on? I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys are staying safe. I hope everything's good wherever you are. I hope everything's safe. I hope you guys are safe. I hope you guys are well. Guys, before we get into the video, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video as you guys always do. It really helps the algorithm, so make sure to share that. Make sure to smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I know most of you that watch me on a regular have subscribed, so thank you very much for your support over the years. It really means a lot, and I really thank you for your support over the years. Let's get into this video, guys. Eddie Hearn said that Canelo Alvarez, prime Canelo Alvarez, would have beaten Floyd Mayweather. This topic, really irks me and frustrates me. Firstly, I think it's disrespectful to Floyd in the sense that Floyd was 36 when he fought Canelo Alvarez. There's no way that we could get a prime Canelo Alvarez in the ring with Floyd. And this is why this topic irks me. There's no way we can get a prime Canelo in with Floyd Mayweather. Because what is prime Canelo? What weight is prime Canelo? What age is prime Canelo? We would say right now is prime Canelo, right? Right now, Canelo's fighting at 175. When is Mayweather, like Floyd, let's not forget, Canelo Alvarez started his career at 140 or 147, right? 147, I think. So that's Mayweather's optimum weight. I know Mayweather fought, I think he won a title at a light middleweight. But even if we go, that light middleweight is one of Canelo's early on weight. So Canelo at 154 was a young guy, right? At 154. So prime Canelo, I don't know what is prime Canelo. Prime Canelo is now, right? In my opinion, that's Canelo at his best. So when Eddie Hearn says that a prime Canelo would beat Floyd Mayweather, yeah, he would, because prime Canelo's at 175, but it's ridiculous to even be talking about it. Why are we talking about a guy that is a light heavyweight super middleweight, undisputed super middleweight champion? Why are we comparing him against a welterweight? They fought when Floyd was 36, when Canelo was 22. Yeah, Canelo wasn't in his prime. And Floyd dominated the fight. It was quite a one-sided fight. It was a bit like Shakur Stevenson-Valdez, although I give Floyd even more credit for that win. I'll tell you why. Because Canelo was very good, and even Canelo had much better skills than what Valdez had at that point, because Canelo was still a top fighter. But we need to stop this BS, Firstly, it's disrespectful to Floyd. Canelo's moved on, right? And Canelo says even then he learned a lot from that win. Canelo developed from that win. He didn't, get down and say, and disappear, He basically learned from that win. He learned from that, and he got better. He improved himself, and now Canelo's the best fighter in the sport himself. He's like what Mayweather was. Some people will argue that Mayweather's better, and Mayweather was more gifted. You can't argue with that. Mayweather was special. There's no doubt about it. But if we go off Canelo's skill level, and the fact that Canelo's skill level has improved, there's still no concrete evidence that he would be able to deal with that Floyd Mayweather, because Mayweather was a genius. There wasn't anyone like Mayweather. There wasn't anyone like Mayweather to really say, well, Canelo, because we can't say Caleb Plant or Billy Joe, because these aren't in the same stratosphere as Mayweather. So we can't really say, well, Canelo Alvarez has got better against fighters like Mayweather, because there isn't anyone like Mayweather. Mayweather's a one-off. Do you know what I mean? So we can't really sit here and say, well, Canelo's got better. Yeah, Canelo has improved. But he hasn't improved against anyone of Mayweather's ability. The Mayweather's one of the greatest fighters of all time. So for me, it's hard. It's hard to say whether he would be able to deal with Mayweather even now. Somebody with, like, if there was somebody like Mayweather at a higher weight class, would he be able to deal with Mayweather? I don't know. I don't know. Canelo's really good right now. So he'd have to face somebody of that level for us to judge. You can't just say, yeah, he would have beaten Mayweather. No. Mayweather was special. You have to go in and prove it. against somebody of that kind of level. But there isn't anybody of that kind of level. You know, we saw how good Mayweather was, because let's not, I know some of you are now going to say that, oh, well, Mayweather was, Canelo was young, he was green. But let's not forget, at the time, people thought that was a competitive fight. People thought that Canelo was dangerous. I remember here in the UK, Johnny Nelson saying that Canelo's going to do Mayweather. And I remember my dad saying that he read on, I think he read in the newspaper, that the newspaper was saying that this might be, Mayweather might have met his match. Mayweather might have met his match here. You know, Canelo's going to do him. I remember my dad telling me this, my dad said, I remember reading about it at the time, that people said that or in the newspaper, in an article, that Canelo's going to beat him. And Mayweather actually put on a dominant... It's crazy to say, when Mayweather actually people actually doubted Mayweather. Mayweather actually put on his best performances. Pacquiao, Canelo, he absolutely dominated. But I think it's unfair to then say, well, a prime Canelo would have beaten Mayweather. Yeah, because prime Canelo's a massive dude, fighting at higher weight classes. But when they fought, right, Mayweather did his thing. And Mayweather was 36 years of age. I will say this, Mayweather at the time was the best fighter in the sport. So even though he was old, it doesn't matter. But still, that might have not been prime Mayweather. Was that prime Mayweather? I don't think it was. I don't think that was Mayweather in his absolute prime when he fought Canelo. I'd say this, he was better placed than what Canelo was, because Mayweather was a developed fighter and Canelo wasn't a developed fighter. So that makes a big difference, because Mayweather was really smart and he had all the experience. And Mayweather said after the fight that experience won it. You know, he was too young. My experience was too much for him. And that was right. Mayweather at that point had so much experience. He had beaten so many former world champions. He was a genius, Mayweather. You know, his cat-like reflexes, his movement in the ring, his defense was impeccable. You know, so yeah, Canelo would have struggled to beat, any version of Canelo would have struggled to beat Mayweather, because Mayweather was a genius. You know, there isn't any other fighter out there that Canelo can fight that will prepare him for Mayweather, or that we can judge off, well, he fought against him and he's a good boxer. But no, but Saunders, Plant, these ain't even these guys aren't good enough to hold Mayweather's, you know, strap. He's too good. Mayweather's on another level. So Mayweather might have always beaten Canelo, because even guys like Lara that gave Canelo trouble in around that time, Lara's not Mayweather. You know, Mayweather was just so good at nullifying his opponents. So yeah, it's hard to say whether Canelo would have ever beaten Mayweather. You know, so I think Eddie's obviously going to say it, because Eddie's promoting Canelo now and he wants to be on Canelo's good books, which I can understand. You know, if I was promoting Canelo, I would say, yeah, he would destroy prime Mayweather. Prime Canelo would destroy Mayweather. But Eddie also said, you know what, you know, Mayweather's so difficult to beat and such an awkward style. But he did say that in his opinion that he thinks that would prime Canelo beat Mayweather. He said, yeah, but I think he's gonna say that, right? He's gonna say that, because he's promoting Canelo. You know, he's not gonna say no, is he? He's not gonna say, well, Mayweather would have beat him. That's not really. We don't know in years whether that's Eddie's actual opinion. You know, Eddie, when he's promoting somebody, he's obviously gonna big him up. So yeah, for me, I just don't like the comparison. I don't like, you know, people bringing it up, because it's ridiculous. Because prime Canelo is a guy at a much higher weight class, so it's kind of silly to bring it up and say, well, a prime Canelo beats Mayweather. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. They fought. Mayweather got the victory. Canelo learned, and I felt like that loss for Canelo really was a blessing in disguise for Canelo, because Canelo realized that he had a lot to work on. He had a lot to work on, and he had a lot to improve. And for me, Canelo became very defensively sound as well. Like, Canelo's not Oscar Valdez. Like, people, you know, I know we've had Christians say, well, Canelo's flat-footed and he's one-dimensional. No. Canelo's very multi-dimensional. Canelo's a very, very special fighter. He's a lot more than a typical Mexican fighter that comes forward and fights that can be outboxed. Canelo's not that. Canelo's a lot more gifted. He's a lot better. Hence why he can deal with a lot more slick guys. I would love to see Canelo fight guys like Andrade. You know, that people that think that Andrade is this slick guy. I'd love to see Canelo, because Canelo would show his skill level in those type of fights. Because Canelo might not look pretty, He might not look the most naturally gifted, but Canelo knows how to break guys down and beat them up and eventually get the W. He knows how to do. He knows how to get through fights now. He's mastered the art. In terms of Mayweather, that guy's just different though. Mayweather's just different. Mayweather's obviously a different breed, so it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say whether Canelo would have been able to deal with Mayweather because Mayweather was special. Like Mayweather was given trouble by Maidana, but Canelo's style isn't a Maidana type style. Like a full-on pressure fighter, which Canelo's not. Canelo's not a pressure fighter. You know, someone like Golovkin, oh my goodness. He would have been an absolute nightmare for Mayweather, but obviously he's too big. So it's an unfair comparison. This is what I'm trying to say. That Canelo's style, Mayweather might have always given him trouble because Canelo's not a pressure fighter. Canelo likes to box. Canelo's a box puncher. He's not a pressure fighter. You know, and I felt like pressure fighters could really give Mayweather trouble. Pressure fighters give everyone trouble because they smother you work. They don't give you they don't give you distance. You know, Mayweather had cat-like reflexes. His footwork was unbelievable. You know, he used to make you miss by millimeters. You know, and Mayweather was just so great a fighter. So it's hard to say whether this version of Canelo would have been able to beat somebody with that kind of skill level because there isn't anybody out there right now in today's boxing that we can kind of there's no measuring stick. There's no measuring stick out there for us to judge whether Canelo would be able to deal with Mayweather. You know, because the first fight they had was so one-sided and it was almost a beatdown. There was times in that fight where Mayweather was pushing Canelo back on the ropes and hitting him with shots, and Canelo was like kind of clueless a little bit at certain points in that fight, which like I said, he lacked experience at that point. Do I think Canelo would put in a much better performance and arguably beat Mayweather? Possibly now, but it's hard for me to say. I can't conclusively say that. Do you understand? Like, yeah, I believe he would do much better than he did in the first fight. 1,000,000% Canelo would do much better now, but you can't conclusively say he would beat Mayweather, you know, because Mayweather, there isn't anybody like Mayweather. You know, there isn't anybody Canelo can face and prove to us that actually, yeah, you know, he's got much better against that Mayweather. Mayweather's a one-off. You know, Mayweather's a one-off. You don't get fighters like Mayweather, so you can't really judge and say he would have beaten Floyd Mayweather. You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say for me, and that's just the honest to God truth. Their weight classes apart. Canelo in his prime is weight classes apart from Mayweather, so they could have never fought. You know, in my opinion. So I think it's a bit of a ridiculous argument, really. And I know a lot of people have said it. Prime Canelo would beat Mayweather. You know, you can't really how their weight classes apart. So that's just my opinion. I'm pretty sure some of you will have your own opinion. But I think people keep bringing up this point about Mayweather and Canelo. Let it go. The fight happened. Mayweather was the winner. Canelo developed massively and learned from that. And Canelo learned from that. He developed from that defeat. Came back, improved, put the work in the gym, and look where he is today. You know, so that for me was a very important chapter of Canelo's career. You know, and Canelo openly says that loss made him better. That defeat made him the man he is today. If Canelo hadn't lost, Canelo might have carried on doing what he's doing. But he realized that actually, you know what, there's a lot I need to work at. There's a lot I need to improve at. Because there was never going to be anybody else like Mayweather. He fought a one-off. Canelo fought a one-off in Mayweather. There was never going to be a fighter that he was going to fight as good as Floyd Mayweather. And Canelo knew that. So Canelo just had to improve, not so he could beat Floyd Mayweather again, because that was never going to happen. So he could improve and beat guys with that skill set. Obviously, no one's got Mayweather's skill set, but with that slick type of skill set where he could break them down. And he's mastered that. He's now much better at fighting slick fighters. He's much better. He's improved massively. He's not the same guy. He's not the same guy. Like, if you're saying Canelo's the same guy that fought Mayweather, then you're lying. Then you're either a hater or you don't know what you're watching. Because Canelo's improved massively. His defense has improved massively. The way he cuts off the ring has improved massively. When he fought Mayweather, he was following Mayweather around the ring. Now he knows how to cut off the ring. So Canelo has come on leaps and bounds since the Mayweather fight. He's developed. Also, his mentality is different. He believes in himself a lot more. And he's improved. He's improved massively. But yeah, whether he would have beaten Mayweather, I think that's hard to say. Because there's no one out there with Mayweather's skill set. It's hard to say whether he would have beaten someone like Mayweather. You know? So yeah, leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I'd love to know your opinion, guys. Eddie Hearn bringing up this topic again, which has been discussed and debated so many times over the years. Would this version of Canelo beat Floyd Mayweather? Leave your thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Smash the like button. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video as always, guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.